This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is Richard Senate, and we've had the pleasure of having Richard on the show a number of times. Richard was born in Los Angeles, California. He was the oldest son of Leonard and Sylvia Senate. His father worked for MGM Studios along with his brothers and father on such classic films as The Wizard of Oz. In 1953, the family moved to Venice, California, to Thousand Oaks, where they bought some land. 1963, Leonard retired and the family moved to the coastal community of Ventura, California. It was here that Richard started Ventura High School and Ventura Community College, where he earned an AA degree. He went on to Long Beach State University, where he earned a degree in history. He was working on a second degree in archaeology when he attended a field school at the Old Spanish Mission of San Antonio de Padua, that's near King City, California. At about 12:30 in the early morning hours of July 2nd, he saw the phantom figure of a monk. This unexpected encounter changed his life. He vowed to discover what ghosts were and why they walk the earth. He became one of the pioneer ghost hunters in the West. It is a career that has taken him to hundreds of haunted sites in the United States and England. Now, Richard has appeared on many radio and TV programs over the years, and he has published 18 books. He is a recognized authority on the subject of the paranormal. He met his wife, Debbie, in 1983. Now, together they investigated a number of important sites, including the Whaley House in San Diego. They were married in a haunted 1888 church, and they have 3 children and today 4 granddaughters. Joining me now is Richard Senate. And Richard, welcome back to the X-Zone. Always great talking to you.
Oh, glad to be on.
Before we go any further, congratulations are in order on the birth of a new grandchild.
Well, that's right. We have a new little granddaughter. Her name is Ivy, and she's cute as a bug's ear, and she's just about to turn 4 months old.
Richard, tell me, do you think she's going to be a ghost hunter like her grandpa?
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I know some of my children are in favor of ghost hunting, and some are not. So some of them are totally turned off by it. But I guess that's how it is with all families. You know, they all want to go into something different than the family business. Isn't
that the truth? And you must admit, your family business is a rather unique one.
Yes, that is certainly true, and it's gotten a little more popular. I know when I started doing this back in the 1980s, there weren't a lot of ghost hunters out there. This was before the TV shows, and it wasn't all that popular. In fact, my children had to face prejudice. They had problems in school. Why? Because of my ghost hunting career.
Unbelievable.
It's hard to imagine today, but such prejudice really existed back in the early years.
Things are certainly different these days, Richard.
Oh, very much. Now ghost hunters are all over the place. They've sprouted up like mushrooms everywhere.
In fact, last night on the X Factor, there was a young contestant there who was very proud to let the world know who was watching that she was a ghost hunter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Richard,
see, it's now gone mainstream,
Yep.
and that's pretty much due to the TV shows that came out in, 2001, something like that. And, Taps and the others have made it something that's far more respectable. But I know when I started doing this, I used to get hate mail from various groups. And we actually had people leaving packages on our doorstep. My children had problems at school, as I mentioned.
Hey, Rich, you and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Exonation Richard Senate is our special guest. We're talking about ghosts this hour. www.ghost-stalker.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Welcome back, everyone. Richard Senate's our special guest. Ghost-stalker.com, and we're talking about ghosts this hour with undoubtedly one of the world's foremost authorities on ghosts. And Richard, did you ever find out what a ghost was?
No, I'm still looking what they are, but there are many theories that might apply for them. Most of the common theory is that they're dead people who come back from the grave for a purpose or mission. And a few of the ghosts seem to be just that. I mean, they're recognized by loved ones who come back to give a message or give hope or a number of different reasons. But there's a whole bunch of ghosts that don't fit that category. They're just kind of, leftover echoes of the past, if you will. Others might well be some sort of projections of our own mind. And we've actually had encounters with ghosts who behave like ghosts, who walk through walls, disappear, all that, of people who are still very much alive. How do you explain that?
No idea, Rich. What was it like the very first time that you saw a ghost go through a wall? It defies everything that we know.
I was investigating an old hospital. Now, hospitals are notoriously haunted. And many times they're the people who pass away in them, but more commonly they're the staff, doctors and nurses, who spend so much time in there that they've, have a attraction to it. I went to this old abandoned hospital, and I actually was in the mortuary area of the hospital. It's all just really messed up at that point in time. There's spider webs everywhere. And I had a large team with me, but they were upstairs conducting experiments. I decided to go off on my own. Went into that mortuary area, and there was a man in a white coat and a beard. I noticed he had a scar on his face and a pipe in his hand. And he looked at me, and my first reaction was, get out, run the other way. But here, I'm a ghost hunter. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And so I actually steeled myself and started to slowly walk towards the figure. And as I did that, it walked away from me, like it didn't want me to get too close, and it walked right back into a brick wall that went right through it.
How did you feel?
Shaken up. I was badly shaken. In fact, I just stood there shaking all over, and then I did what every good ghost hunter should do, and that is as soon as you have an encounter, get a pencil and paper and write it all down. The times, the dates, what you felt, that there are any temperature variations. You write it all down while it's fresh in your memory. And I next do something else, a technique I learned in archaeology. When you find an artifact, you draw a picture of it. So whenever I see an apparition, I sit down and I draw a picture of exactly what I saw. Now, the sooner you do this, the better you are. In fact, the best way to do it is within minutes or seconds of a sighting. Just that should be the first thing you grab for is a pencil and paper and start writing down all the details. So anyway, that's a technique I've used, but that was the first time that just walked right through the wall. Now, it's kind of interesting because it looked solid. It wasn't like transparent or anything. It sort of became transparent as it went through the wall, just at the very end when it faded right into the bricks. And I remember that part of it. In fact, it's so astounding. By the way, anyone who's seen a ghost will confirm this. When you have a ghostly encounter, it sticks in your mind. It's stuck there, branded like a memory that you can't forget. And I can almost close my eyes and see that guy's face. I later learned that was actually, I was able to identify him from a photograph, one of the original doctors who established that old hospital in 1902.
It almost seems, Richard, as if there was an intelligence behind this apparition.
Yes, I find that about half of the apparitions actually seem to exhibit some kind of intelligent thought.
Where, in your opinion, and you've been all over the U.S. and the United Kingdom doing your investigations, where, in your opinion, Richard Senate, is the most haunted place in the United States?
United States, without a doubt, New Orleans.
Why?
I think it has to do with the different culture groups that have lived there. Plus, it's had a very violent past, and there have been lots of terrible outrages over the years. I tend to think that that's the reason why we have so many ghosts in that particular city. Another good one is San Francisco, where so many people died in the terrible
the fire
earthquake and fire. I haven't investigated Chicago, but the awful fire that took place there in the 19th century has probably left a lot of ghosts behind as well.
Richard, are most funeral homes haunted?
Yes. In fact, I would make a blanket statement. All of them are haunted, and I've talked to many people, even funeral homes that are no longer being used as funeral homes tend to be haunted.
How do you clean or how do you cleanse a home from being haunted, or is it possible? I
believe it is, but it doesn't always work. In fact, I would dare say it only works about, a quarter of the time.
Mm-hmm.
3/4 of the time is to completely fails. You can use a variety of rituals. Every church has their own ritual cleansings, blessings, house blessings. The Catholics are the most known for this, but the Mormons do it, the Baptists, the Hindus, all of the religious groups, even the Jewish people, have techniques to cleanse or get rid of old leftovers. Many people today use Native American practices, burning sage, blessings, what have you. Or the simplest way is to have a psychic come and find out what the ghost wants. Maybe by telling it that it's no longer there, it will actually help to make it leave.
A number of people that we've had on the show, Richard, say that one explanation for ghosts is because these spirits don't know they're dead. Is that possible?
Oh, I think it is very possible. From what I've gathered from my own communications and such, when a violent death occurs, it's so traumatic that the spirit, whatever it is, has a kind of like a brief form of amnesia. They forget the last few minutes of their lives, and they don't realize that they're dead. And as such, they're wandering around. Nobody's paying attention to them. They don't seem to have the same grasp of time that we do. So to them, what seems to us many years might in fact just be a few minutes. They don't realize how much time has passed. So I believe that this also is the reason behind those crosses you see on the roadway. You know, you drive around, especially in Latino countries, someone dies in a fatal accident, they put a cross up. I believe those were there, and Latinos have told me, those are to let the ghosts know that they're dead. So they may still linger at the spot of the accident, and they still may be suffering from amnesia and don't know what's happening to them, but then they see the cross, and they actually say, oh, okay, I'm dead. That's why nobody's talking to me, and hopefully go on to whatever the next place is they are supposed to go. I investigated a cemetery that was haunted. It was, oddly enough, not the graves, but the office where a man had passed away. A man had worked there his whole life, who was in the back vault, a dedicated worker, and he just dropped dead of a heart attack. And they would see him still going to work, checking in. And so I said I would organize a team and get a psychic and say, oh, no, we can't do that because the owner is a born-again Christian and doesn't believe in this. So I had a dilemma. How do you help someone get rid of a ghost if they won't let you on the property? So I told them to put up a shrine, a large cross with the name of the dead person, their photograph, or obituary, words of comfort, flowers, candles, and such. Put it in his old spot where his ghost is seen, and that might help. They did it. By the way, the owner saw the shrine and said, what's this? And he said, oh, well, we miss our co-worker. We put this up in his memory. Actually, nobody much liked him. But oddly enough, Ghost was seen only one more time going into his office. And perhaps, I hope anyway, he saw the shrine, realized what the message was, and he was never seen again. So those little crosses and shrines might actually serve a purpose to alert the earthbound phantom or whatever it is that it's time to move on.
Richard, you and I have to take our commercial break for the news at the bottom of the hour. Thanks very much for being with us. Always a great pleasure talking to you, my friend.
Okay.
All right, Richard Senate is my special guest of this hour, Exonation. 18 books and going strong. For more information on Richard, ghost-stalker.com. And he also has a very active and popular Facebook page. All you have to do is go to Facebook and put in the search engine Richard Senate, and you can join up and be one of Richard's friends on Facebook. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X-Zone continues. We're right here live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
X-Zone Nation, Richard Senate is our special guest. Richard's an internationally recognized ghost researcher. He's written over 18 books. He's been on every radio station, TV station that has any show to do with the paranormal. His website is www.ghost-stalker.com. That's www.ghost-stalker.com. And he also has a very active Facebook page. All you have to do is go to Facebook, put his name there in the search, and le voila, you can be one of his friends. Richard, how do you deal with skepticism? I'm sure you have people who go out on ghost tours with you, and even though the majority of your group may have an encounter, they just shrug their shoulders and say, "What are you talking about?"
Oh, I've always gotten skeptics on my tours and talks I've given and stuff like that. And it's really hard. It's always a challenge because people are always forcing you to kind of prove yourself or prove your theories. And I remember one of the early lectures I gave. I sometimes give lectures to large groups of people, and at the very start of it, I many times open the floor up for them to ask me questions while people are, coming into the room and things are getting set up for the talk. And this one fellow rose his hand in the back, an older guy, and he said, "I'm a fellow ghost hunter too." And I said, "Well, welcome. I'm glad to hear other people are doing this." They said, "Well, I've been studying ghosts for years, and there just ain't no such animal." And I said, "Well, why do you say that?" And he said, "Well, I had two good friends, and I asked them when they died to come back and tell me if there is a spirit world. And they both died, and they never came back. And at that point, he said, there's no such thing. He walked out the door. And I wish he'd stayed. I would have liked to have talked to him a little further because there are many explanations to account for why he would not be contacted by his spirits of his dead friends. Maybe they didn't want to talk to him, or maybe he just didn't have the ability to see or hear them. It's not everyone who can't see or experience a ghost.
What does it take for someone to experience a ghost sighting or a visitation from a spirit?
Well, the old theory was that you had to believe in them before you'd see them. And that is not really the truth. I've had so many people who were skeptical who all of a sudden had something happen that they couldn't define, something that was just too profound, and it changes them around to being more of a believer. But it's really hard, and I think anyone under the right conditions, in the right frame of mind, can in fact see a ghost. And for some people, it's very easy. For others, it's very hard. And as I say, for some, it's impossible, I believe. is just like some people can't carry a musical tune or play an instrument or learn a foreign language. But other people can pick them up very easily and speak 10 or 20 languages or play several musical instruments. About all I can play is a music box as long as I can turn the crank, but I just can't play an instrument.
Richard, are children more susceptible to having encounters with ghosts than adults are?
Oh, by all means. They seem to be more open to the possibility of it. And to them, they haven't learned anything different, so they tend to be more psychic. As a person gets older, they start to lose that gift or ability. A few, of course, enhance it as they grow older. But it's not anything special. A lot of people think because someone is psychic and they have experiences like this, that they're somehow, different in some way, or better, almost, godlike in some way. I don't agree with that. Psychics are just regular folks who have just one particular gift or ability. Others don't happen to have it. But it doesn't make them any better counselor. It doesn't make them wise beyond their years or anything like that. They're just have this one gift.
When you go out onto an investigation or if you're on a ghost tour, are you putting yourself at risk? Can someone get physically assaulted by a ghost?
Yes, they can, but I never, ever take groups to places where I think something like that is even possible. When I first started out, I didn't believe it. I thought, ghosts can't harm you. And then I learned, I was very naive. That's not true. There's a lot of bad stuff out there in the other side or in the paranormal field. And that's one of the things I really kind of pick a bone with the TV shows, is that they've made it so popular. A lot of young people especially are getting involved, and sometimes they can step into something that's really bad and have a negative experience. Fortunately, the negative, dark things are very rare. That's the only positive. We're talking 2 or 3% at best. So I'd never take anybody to a site like that. I would never even take an amateur or a young group to investigate such places. When I do go out to a place that's haunted with something negative, I take my best people. These are people who've been in the business 20 years or better, people who are well-grounded, and it's a real challenge. And have I had things happen to me? Yeah, I've been pushed and shoved. I've had other things happen to associates of mine. One fellow was actually struck in the face. I saw blood coming out of his mouth. And I even told whatever was there, I said, go ahead, strike me. He never did. Just to see if, they could do that. But I've had enough things happen that make me convinced that ghosts can harm people, but it's very, very rare. We're talking very, very slight chance that you'll encounter something like that. I was doing this for 9 years before I came across something that was, evil, if you want to call it that.
Richard, when you go out to do an investigation, how do you proceed? What are some of the first things you do when somebody says, Mr. Senate, I'd like you to come over to see my house. Strange things are happening. I think it's haunted. How do you proceed?
Well, first thing I do is a real in-depth interview over the phone. I want to find out the consistency. Is it something that happened once and didn't happen again? I wouldn't even go out on something like that. And a lot of times that's what occurs. Someone has an event happen, or several events in a week, and then they get in touch with me a month afterwards. Oh, my house is haunted. Well, what was the most recent event? Well, it was 2 months ago. Well, I want recurrent, spontaneous activity. I want things going on right now, or very close to the present. So I interview the times. I try to set up a timeline of what's going on. Many times ghosts seem to operate like on a bell curve. So you have a few activities, it rises higher and higher, more and more activities. That's what I want to get into. I want to get something that's rising on the bell curve so I can be there at the crescendo of whatever is happening. So I first get a timeline. Then I try to ask a few basic questions to see how credible they are. Are they taking medications? Are they real believers who've gone to seances all their lives and see ghosts everywhere? I would give it that a little less credibility than someone who perhaps was a skeptic and then all of a sudden had this happen. Then I usually go out on a preliminary visit. And I take pictures, I interview the people involved, I actually go to the sites. Then after the preliminary interview and visit, I assemble a team. And a team usually has 3 to 5 people, sometimes as many as 15. And I will take, and each person has a specialization. One is a cameraman, one is an architect, another one's sound technician. Others, I might bring psychics in, I might bring religious leaders, I might bring newspaper people. I've even had them come along, and even a few radio personalities. And then as a group, I meet with them usually at a restaurant and give them kind of like what I want each of them to do and the ethics that I want them to abide by in this investigation. I also make sure that they're sober and that they aren't wearing any cologne and that they're wearing the right clothing, the right shoes, what kind of equipment they're bringing, if they have enough extra batteries, because ghosts tend to drain the batteries. Even a brand new battery can be just drained in 5 seconds by a ghost. So I make sure everything's okay. Then we go to the site. Now, I usually don't tell them a whole lot about what's going on, unless it's something real negative, and I think they should be warned. But most places, 90% of them, I give them just the sketchiest of ideas of what's there. I want them to come up with new data. I don't want them pre-programmed so they might imagine something. Then we go through the house. I usually let the psychics go through first to get their opinions, or kind of metaphysical opinions. Then I let the people with the equipment go through. And by the way, you know what's amazing?
What's that, Rich?
Many times the psychic will pick up something in a hallway, and then later on I go through with the scientists with their equipment. They'll pick up something in the same spot.
Wow.
So oddly enough, the metaphysicians, psychics, pendulums, turners, those sorts of people, and the scientists who kind of debunk that sort of stuff, actually when they work together, they can really acquire a great deal of information and knowledge. So that has worked out very well for me, a blending of both techniques in ghost hunting. And then after we do that, we set up a stakeout, and we pick out the room which we think is the most conducive to psychic activity. We set up our equipment, we wait, and a lot of it's waiting. We sip coffee, we talk, sometimes we play cards, sometimes we even try to reenact things in an attempt to help stimulate the ghost. Then every hour on the hour, we walk through the entire house, give a survey, and sometimes we'll even try a seance, like in the middle of the night. And then all this data that was collected from the metaphysicians, the scientific equipment, plus the eyewitness accounts of the owners of the building, plus whatever history we're able to acquire on the site goes into a report. And the main question we ask is it really haunted? And if the answer is yes, who is haunting it and why?
Out of, let's say, 100 investigations, Rich, how many out of 100 would you anticipate being truly haunted?
Oh, truly actively haunted, about 35%.
Wow, that high.
Yeah, and some of them have residual energy. That might account for another 30%.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some that are a zip, nothing. Imagination or whatever is there is either gone or dormant or what have you. But a lot of times we go out to sites and the answer is no. And I used to sometimes, around Halloween especially, news crews would want to go with me on an investigation.
Oh, sure.
I don't do that anymore because many times when we went out, there was absolutely nothing.
Oh, gosh.
It was kind of depressing in a way because there's nothing happening.
It's also very counterproductive.
Yeah.
Rich, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exonation. My guest this hour is our good friend Richard Senate. He's got a great website, ghost-stalker.com, and Rich has written over 18 books. When we come back to after this commercial break, I'm going to talk to Richard about his newest book entitled Silver Ghosts. And once again, Richard has a very active Facebook page. If you'd like to become a friend, just go to Facebook, type in his name, and join. It's that simple. My name's Rob McConnell. Richard Senate and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Richard Senate is our guest this hour. Once again, Richard's website is ghost-stalker.com, and he's also on Facebook. Richard, tell us a little bit about Silver Ghosts.
Silver Ghosts is my newest book I have. It's about ghosts in northern Nevada. That's Carson City,
Yep.
Reno, Virginia City. And there's all kinds of different hauntings. I did the book with my friend, the psychic Sandie LaNae, and it can be acquired on lulu.com and I think on amazon.com as well.
Richard, is that part of Nevada so haunted because of those who lost their lives in the Old West and during the Gold Rush era?
Oh, very much. And those mining operations were incredibly dangerous, and there were terrible accidents. Some of them, the bodies were never recovered. They just seal up that particular part of the mine and work around it. So there's good possibility that the violent past, shootings were a common event, were what's actually behind all the many hauntings we have there.
Richard, is science any closer to to coming up with any scientific findings that will help the ghost researcher like yourself?
Oh, very much. The new physics, which is now dominating and replacing Newtonian physics, is something that's so open that there's nothing in new physics which could deny ghosts. In fact, they seem to confirm such things as even time travel.
Wow.
In fact, I tend to think that some ghosts are simply holes in the fabric of time, where we actually are getting bleed-throughs from the past. So they're not like true spirits, more or less they're like images that have crept into our area from the past or future.
So what's in the future for Richard Senate?
Well, I'm working on a new book. Of course, I'm always working on a new book. It's called Phantomology, and it's a word I coined to define just ghost hunting as opposed to parapsychology, which is a whole bunch of other things. And I want to go back to more of the traditional methodology in ghost hunting, not just all scientific, but also more like the use of psychics and other things, sort of the way things were done, 50 years ago or even 30 years ago before the craze went in for the various and sundry meters. I'll talk about them, but I want to get an idea of the full range of ghost hunting, and I use a lot of my own experiences and some of the things I've done in 33 years of ghost hunting.
Richard, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure, and I look forward to the next time you join us here in the X Zone.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to another encounter.
You take care, my good friend, and once again, congratulations on your newest addition to your family.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Richard. Exonation Richard Senate, www.ghost-stalker.com, and of course, he's available on Facebook. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past, as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.